All aboard! The hype train for Elden Ring is leaving shortly. All aboard! We will be approaching our destination momentarily. This new fantasy action RPG promises incredible landscapes and complex dungeons with verticality previously unseen in FromSoft titles. With the trademark difficulty bound to unravel, players can expect greater versatility in combat and are welcome to enjoy asynchronous or direct co-op environment. Please prepare yourselves for open fields, dank dark caves, soaring mountains, majestic castles, and poisonous swamps. We will soon be arriving at the release of Elden Ring.
Welcome to the very first episode of a brand new show on Direckt Gaming. This is Hype Train. Each episode, Kat and I will be discussing an eagerly anticipated game that is about to release, with one of us taking the role of the hype conductor. As you can see from Kat's very fancy hat, that is her role for this episode. Each episode of Hype Train will consist of 2 segments. The first, like this one, will be a preview of the game. We'll be discussing our current hype level, what we've seen of the game, and why we are hyped. Then, in the second installment, after the game's launch, we will discuss if the game lived up to the hype or if the hype train got derailed. Alright, well, seeing as you're the conductor this week, Kat, let's get started. Tell me, why the hype for Elden Ring?
Oh my god. Well, personally, I have a lot of hype for Elden Ring because I'm a big FromSoft fangirl. Those who are familiar would know I have 2 shelves worth of goodies from FromSoft titles previously, and I cannot wait to add to it. I can't wait to explore the world, the lore, and the combat. Like, those things are the key things for me. Having a really, tough encounter and persevering through it is really enjoyable for me, but also then getting all these little tiny snippets and details of lore that overall I have absolutely no idea what the it means, but slowly and carefully, piecing small bits together to unravel some sort of geopolitical conflict that's going on. It's really cool to explore that side of gaming for me, and I think it's one of the only developers that is that engaging to me. In most other games, I only want the lore that is given to me. And if they are not giving it directly to me, I'm not looking any further. But From Software just makes me want to dig deep and explore literally every crevasse and read all the item descriptions just to learn as much as I can. So I'm so excited to relive that in a new world.
If people know me at all and our podcast, know that the only From game that I've ever played is Sekiro, and I was an absolutely huge fan of that game. The combat, the difficulty, the fact that you are constantly learning and adapting and evolving as a human being, let alone a player, in that game made me so excited. And I am also very excited for this game. I think that it's crazy to think that in 7 years they've released Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, and now about to release Elden Ring, and that is a crazy lineup in less than a decade if you consider it compared to other developers.
Yeah, and I think also one of the things that is really exciting about this, as you talked about, obviously the perseverance and the learning and everything that you get throughout the game is so integral to it. But what's really, really exciting about Elden Ring, I think personally, is that not only do we have this great lineup from the past 7 years and beyond that to show us the pedigree that we're going to be able to expect in this game, but Elden Ring is a culmination of all of them together. We have the sneaking and jumping from Sekiro. We have the quick step and the faster gameplay coming in from Bloodborne, Arcane coming directly from Bloodborne, Obviously, the main base of it is heavily inspired by their work with Dark Souls and Demon Souls. So I'm just, finally, we're going to be able to sort of condense that down into one really solid, massive experience with extra stuff on top, like crafting and horses and all this sort of stuff. I'm so excited.
And of course, an open world. You were lucky enough to play the closed network test when it happened a few months ago, and got to experience the world, what's your thoughts and opinions on the fact that it has gone open world, and do you think that is a natural progression? Do you think going open world is a good thing?
Is a good next step. I think it's not something that I expected from them. I think a lot of their areas in their current games, they have this really like trademark interconnected world design, especially with like Dark Souls 1 is like the real standout that everyone always calls back to. But in a way, it's already like a really small, streamlined open world, I guess, in Dark Souls 1 in the previous games, because you can technically get to a lot of the other areas in just one connected route. There are parts where you do have to be completely separate. So I think, even though I wasn't expecting it, an open world progression is like a good way to go. Like, although it wasn't on like the front of my mind, it's definitely an appropriate step forward. And I think in my time in the CNT, it really solidified how good I think it will feel, because I will admit, especially seeing the trailers and seeing the scales of these open world areas, I was a bit... Yeah, they're absolutely massive. And it was a bit, not necessarily intimidating, but I wasn't sure how well the story or the progression of the story would be pushed forward, especially with their, manner of storytelling. In a lot of open world games, you get very specific quest guidance. And so those massive areas like that seems like a very different way to play the game. But those areas are so well designed. Like, everything looks so interesting. Like, it's really drawing you forward to the new place. The little grace lights to lead you on are a really nice touch as well, though, especially considering that it seems there will be more NPC quests / side quest sort of things that you can experience within the game, but there will not be a quest log per se.
Okay.
So I'm going to have like literally Notepad open on my other screen, just typing down everything, so I try not to miss anything at all. But I think their like absolute stellar world design that we've experienced in all these previous games, and how they managed to make every single area look incredibly unique, is really a strength in the open world, because instead of being led to new places by quest markers that NPCs are giving you, you're led there because they look interesting, or they look like they hold something new and you want to explore it. And I think that's something that a lot of open world games right now don't necessarily have. I think it's something that some are falling short on. So I'm really excited to experience it and like have that curiosity, like, that rock looks fucking funky, let's go over there. What's in that valley, like what's around this little corner? So I think it's actually a really great progression, and it's working quite well for them in the CNT that I played. So I can't wait to explore it further.
I think one of the things about something like maybe Skyrim from 10 years ago is that world felt really alive, because you see something in the distance, or you see something on your compass and you're like, I want to go there, and there's something there. Whereas I've played a lot of more modern open world games, and this isn't for all of them, but a lot of them, it feels like there's these big open areas, there's nothing to find. And it's another reason why I love The Witcher 3, because every little hut or house you go to, or every little township, there's something there, and it's these breadcrumbs that like keep you just exploring. And I think Elden Ring is absolutely, it's going to be on like another level, because they're going to bring what, like you said, it's a culmination of their previous games. They're going to bring that still deep level design to an open area, and I'm super, super excited.
I think another thing that really works in the favor of Elden Ring is that a lot of open world games, like you said, they either feel alive or they feel really empty. And I think something that's going to be so special for Elden Ring in this open world is that they kind of want it to feel empty. Like, they want it to feel desolate, like it's war-torn, it's shredded, people are having a hard time living a life out here at all. Like, it's just absolutely plagued by soldiers and monsters and that sort of thing. So having a very desolate world really emphasizes the atmosphere that they're trying to create as well. So that just works in its favor, but I still think the world will feel very alive in the fact that, you know, we've got all these unique locations and experiences to have, and, you know, mobs that are, you know, like a carriage walking around. Like, you're not going to come across a sprawling city, and that's absolutely fine. And it doesn't have to make up for that, and it doesn't have to try that. Like, it knows what it's trying to be.
But then some of the castles and stuff just look absolutely intricate and incredible. And, like, you know, there might not be a sprawling city or something, but my lord, the buildings and the dungeons just look like they are going to be something else. Like, it's going to be incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, the design has always been top tier for FromSoft games, and, like, I cannot wait to actually be able to vertically explore, like, these dungeons, like, to be in a castle and be like, I want to get up on that rampart and I can actually jump up and get there, as opposed to being like, they didn't want me up there, you know? Like, I'm so excited to be able to explore in that way. But I'm also really keen, even though, you know, the worlds are so notoriously empty, this game is said to have a lot more characters and NPCs than ever before. And I think they call it the Round Table Hold, is basically your new Firelink Shrine, right? Yeah. Where all your friends come and live together. And in most of the previous games, you don't necessarily have a place where people come and live together. Like, you have met these NPCs and you go back to where they are to interact with them again. But the one game that does have it, Dark Souls 2, they have Majula, where everyone comes and sits around together. And even though amongst the Souls community, Dark Souls 2 is often regarded as the worst of the Souls games, which is dead wrong, by the way, a lot of people still regard Majula as one of the best, if not the best, hub, like, section, like the best home. And that's because you have, like, such, like, a little community that you grow, right? I'm really excited to see how that moves forward in Elden Ring. Like, I've tried to stay quite spoiler free in these last few weeks upon, like, leading up to release, so I know that there's a bit more information out there about the Round Table Hold than I've seen, but I have the general gist and I'm excited to experience it.
I'm going to ask this question in, we are going to ask each other this question in future episodes of Hype Train as well. Sometimes I think it's not going to be as clear cut as it is for Elden Ring. Judging by what they've been prepared to show so far, how much do we really know about the game and the state that it will release in?
We can be very confident in it. I mean, since I've been involved really in FromSoft's releases, the newer ones, like, they always have, like, a network test that you can join in so you can see what the game's going to play like. Obviously they need that as well so that they can gather information on what their online community is doing, because you know, they need to fix that every time. They need to make sure that the players are interacting with each other asynchronously and directly, which is really cool. But it gives everyone the opportunity to really see exactly what they're going to experience. And I played the Dark Souls 3 closed network test, and apart from obviously the enemy locations and item locations changing a bit, like, it was dead set the same, right? Like, so I think what we've experienced in the closed network test is as close as you can get without actually playing it. And, you know, like, they waited so long until they gave us all this extra information, or even showing trailers. Like, I think they waited until they were incredibly confident, and even though it had to get delayed by 1 month, in the end it turned out it was a great idea just by accident, so that they could patch up some of the online security issues as well.
Yeah, true.
So I'm very, very confident about what we're heading into, you know? Like, I don't think this is gonna be an Anthem or a Cyberpunk in any way. And from a Souls, like, lover, from a FromSoft fan, and I think a lot of us can speak the same thing, even if it is just big Dark Souls, that's enough. If nothing else, if I just play it exactly like it's big Dark Souls and I don't use any of the new stuff, I will be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, by the time this episode... I absolutely think it's going to be... I said this in some recent video, I think in my top 10 most anticipated games of this year. Yeah. I said, I think this could be like one of those, like, greatest games of all time kind of games. And I know that's, like, sometimes in the video game industry, yes, we get a lot of hyperbole, especially from people like myself who are really positive and really upbeat about games. But like, this game looks insane. And by the time this video goes out, the reviews for this game will be out. I know a little bit more about this game than some because I have edited the review for Seasoned Gaming. So make sure you go onto their YouTube channel, youtube.com/seasonedgaming, and check out Ainsley Bowden's review. He is a huge fan of From Software and he absolutely loves it. So when you get high praise like that, you know, from people who are massive fans, you can be very, very confident. And with that in mind, what do you think? Let's do a little bit of fun in Hype Train. Let's get some Metacritic score predictions.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Well, one of the things that I was just thinking about while you were talking about how you think it'll be like a defining game. Dark Souls 1, like, it won best game of all time recently, you know? Like,
wow.
So there's a bit of a force behind this, you know? The creators know what they're doing. I would be pleased and not surprised to see a lot of 9.5s. I think that would be... I would expect that, especially seeing some of the reviews around recent games. I think that would be a great place for it to sit. It might get it some 10 out of 10s from individual review sites. So if you go in knowing what you're going to experiencing and in that mindset, you can have a fantastic time. But unfortunately, there are tons of reviewers who are just not necessarily a fan of the game that they're going to be reviewing. So I could see us getting a lot of lower scores for this game popping out and discourse around its difficulty, as always, bringing down that score. What do you reckon?
Yes. I absolutely agree with so much of that. I think there's always one, and like, I mean, there's going to be like at least 100 critic reviews on Metacritic when this comes out. It's just that kind of game. Everyone will be reviewing, but there's always one or two that are like 6 out of 10.
The most wish-listed game of all time on Steam.
Wow, that's crazy. And there's always like a 6 out of 10, and sometimes that's like a 3 out of 5 stars, but like, I just
really drags it down.
There's going to be a couple that drag it down. Although I think at this stage, I guess people are so aware of what this is. Outlets with, you know, multiple reviewers or a good staff of reviewers will put their Dark Souls person on it. You know, it will be...
They better.
Yeah, it will be Dan Tack from Game Informer. You know, it will be those those big Souls From Software people who know the games inside out and want to be the one to talk about it. I was just looking at the reviews there for Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Sekiro and Bloodborne, and Bloodborne's the highest with 92, Sekiro's got 91, and the other three have about 90 or 89 depending on the platform. My prediction, I'm saying 94.
I would love to say 94, but I don't want to agree with you. So I want a 96.
Yes.
I think, and I'm very hopeful that the versatility that this game is going to offer in terms of crafting, like, and stealth, in terms of like sleep, that sort of thing, will add a completely different playstyle to the game. Magic is reworked incredibly. Ashes of War that add a new way to play, as well as a newer way to change the stats of your gear, as well as an easier co-op system. I'm hoping that all of that will allow for a more seamless experience for our reviewers and for people in general, and allow us to get a higher score.
Yeah, I would love to see that. We're gonna either look smart or like idiots when this video comes out. Because, yeah, like I said, by the time this is launching and people are watching it, the Metacritic score is already out. So go and check that out and comment if we're
Judge us. Tell me if there are 7.6s and 8.6s out there, because I believe there will be, but they better not bring the score down too far.
No, I think it's going to do. All right, my final question before we wrap up this inaugural episode of Hype Train. What is the percentage chance that Elden Ring will live up to the hype?
For me? Or as an all-around?
Yeah, for you, but, Yeah, for you. I mean, look, it's you're the conductor of this hype.
I'm the
train, Kat.
conductor, and I am 100% pulling into the station. There is a
Absolutely,
0%
yeah.
chance of derailment on this ride. Like, don't even worry about it. Like, we had to start off this series with a strong one so that we can pull into the station and have a great time on the other end. We can't have our maiden voyage fucking pop off the tracks. It's just not happening. And Elden Ring
No.
is pulling in. It's going to be the smoothest landing you've ever experienced. I know trains don't generally have a lot of bumpiness to them, but this one's going to be
I was
like...
going to say, trains don't generally land either. But
No, they don't. They don't. But this is going to be like the smoothest arrival you've ever experienced. It's going to be like butter, baby. We're going to slide on in, come to a very gentle stop. You won't even notice that we've gone from 100 Ks to 0. That's how smooth it's going to be. Oh, it's silky smooth. I cannot wait. 0% chance of derailment, 100% chance of enjoyment.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. Thank you, Kat,
You're so welcome.
for helping launch this brand new show. This has been something we've had in the works for a long time. Kat even made the hat. That's how committed she is to this show. So thank you everybody for watching the first episode of Hype Train. Part 2 of the Elden Ring Hype Train will be releasing next week, where we will discuss, are we just idiots?
The Arrival.
I don't think so. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see that. And with this being a brand new show, we want your feedback and input as well. What do you think? What other games would you like to see in the spotlight like this? And if you enjoy the content that we create here at Direckt Gaming, we would love if you hit the like and subscribe buttons, turn on notifications so you don't miss a single upload. Follow me on Twitter at Direckt Gaming. Follow Kat on Twitter at CapCatty, and follow her over on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/CapCat, all Ks. We go live every Tuesday with our podcast, Controllers and Coffee. And next week is obviously going to be a huge Elden Ring discussion. So please tune in and ask us all your Elden Ring related questions. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at ControllersPod. We'll answer all of them. It will be a hell of a show. Anything else before we wrap this one up, Kat?
No, I just hope you guys all have a very smooth journey on this hype train as we, pay it forward. We're just slowly rolling in towards the lands between, towards Elden Ring. Have a lovely time. The snack trolley will be around shortly, and we'll see you at the other end.
Thanks so much for watching.
Bye.